Ever wondered how you can talk about hypothetical situations in English? Well, today we're diving into a fascinating facet of English grammar: conditional sentences. These are not just your regular sentences, they're like the secret sauce that adds flavor to your conversations, allowing you to speculate, to suggest, to imagine, and to weave intricate scenarios about your past, present, and future. In the vast landscape of English language, conditional sentences are like the signposts. They guide us through different possibilities and hypothetical situations. There are different types of conditional sentences, each with its own unique character, like the zero, the first, the second, the third, and even mixed conditionals. But don't worry, we're not going to delve into these just yet. This is just the beginning of our journey into the world of conditional sentences. So buckle up, because we're about to go on a thrilling grammatical ride. Stay tuned to discover the world of conditional sentences. Imagine you're a scientist conducting an experiment. How would you express the relationship between cause and effect in your findings? In English grammar, we have a perfect tool for this: the zero conditional. It's a type of conditional sentence we use to talk about things that are always true, such as scientific facts or general truths. It's called the zero conditional because there are no variables. The outcome is always the same. The structure is straightforward. We start with a condition, which is an if clause, followed by the result clause. Both clauses use the simple present tense. So we have if plus simple present, simple present. Let's dive into some examples. If you heat ice, it melts. The condition here is if you heat ice, and the result is it melts. This is a scientific fact. Whenever you heat ice, it will invariably melt. Here's another one. If it rains, the grass gets wet. The condition is if it rains, and the result is the grass gets wet. It's a general truth. Whenever it rains, the grass does get wet. And how about this? If you don't eat, you get hungry. The condition is if you don't eat, and the result is you get hungry. This is a universal truth for all humans. In all these examples, notice that the result is always the same given the condition. This is the hallmark of the zero conditional. But remember, even though we usually use if to start the condition, we can also start with the result. For instance, the grass gets wet if it rains is just as correct as if it rains, the grass gets wet. We also have the option to replace if with when, since the result is always predictable. So when you heat ice, it melts is equally valid. In summary, the zero conditional is a powerful tool for expressing facts and universal truths. It's like a language lab coat, helping us articulate cause and effect relationships with precision and clarity. So the zero conditional is your go-to when stating facts or universally accepted truths. What if you had a magic crystal ball that could predict the future? Well, while we don't have a crystal ball, we do have something almost as good. The first conditional in English grammar. The first conditional, also known as the real conditional, deals with real or possible situations that could occur in the future. It's like peering into that magic crystal ball and making predictions based on what you see. Now let's break down the structure of the first conditional. It's composed of two parts: the if clause and the main clause. The if clause sets the condition, while the main clause reveals the result of that condition. The if clause typically uses the present simple tense, and the main clause often uses the future simple tense with will. For instance, let's consider this sentence: if it rains, I will stay at home. Here, if it rains is the if clause. It's a condition that might happen. I will stay at home is the main clause. It's the outcome if the condition in the if clause happens. Now let's dive into a few more examples. Imagine you're planning a picnic. You might say, if the weather is nice tomorrow, we will go for a picnic. Or perhaps you're giving advice to a friend about a job interview. You might tell them, if you prepare well, you will ace the interview. Remember, the order of the clauses doesn't matter. You can also say, we will go for a picnic if the weather is nice tomorrow, or you will ace the interview if you prepare well. The first conditional is versatile and handy. It's perfect for making promises, threats, warnings, or giving advice. It's all about expressing a future situation that is possible and likely to happen if a certain condition is met. So the next time you're predicting the future, remember to use the first conditional. It's like your very own magic crystal ball for English grammar. Remember, the first conditional is all about possible future actions or situations. So keep practicing, and soon using the first conditional will become second nature to you. Ever daydreamed about what you would do if you won the lottery? Now that's a classic example of the second conditional. The second conditional describes an unreal situation with a probable outcome. It's used for situations in the present or future that are hypothetical or unreal. The structure is straightforward. If plus the past simple, comma, would plus the base form of the verb. For example, if I had £1,000,000, I would buy a house in the countryside. Now don't be tricked into thinking this is about the past because of the past simple. It's not. It's about an unlikely situation in the present or future. Now let's move on to the third conditional, shall we? The third conditional is used to talk about things in the past that did not happen. It's the what could have been scenario, if you will. The structure is if plus the past perfect, comma, would have, plus the past participle. For instance, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. Here the speaker did not study hard and therefore did not pass the exam. The third conditional is a way to express regret or to show that a different action in the past would have led to a different result in the present. Remember, the second conditional is for unlikely or impossible situations in the present or future, like winning the lottery or flying like a bird. The third conditional, on the other hand, is for reflecting on past actions that did not happen, like studying harder for an exam or taking a different turn in life. A fun way to remember this is to imagine the second conditional as a daydreamer, always thinking about what could be, and the third conditional as a reflective soul, always pondering what could have been. In short, use the second conditional for unlikely or impossible situations and the third conditional for past actions that did not happen. So we've covered the basics, but what happens when you mix them up? Well, welcome to the intriguing world of mixed conditionals. In English grammar, mixed conditionals are a blend of two different types of conditionals, often used to express a condition in the past that has an impact on the present or future. Let's take a closer look at their structure. You'll typically find a third conditional in the if clause and a second conditional in the main clause. So it's a blend of past and unreal present, or even an unreal past and unreal future. Here's an example to illustrate this. If I had studied harder at school, I would have a better job now. The past action of not studying hard has an impact on the present situation, which is not having a better job. Another example could be, if I had saved some money last year, I could be traveling the world right now. Here, the past action of not saving money affects the unreal present of not being able to travel. Mixed conditionals are quite flexible and can be used in various ways to express regret, criticism, or hypothetical situations. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you use them, the more comfortable you'll get. Mixed conditionals can be a bit tricky, but they are great for expressing complex thoughts and feelings. Scene script. Think you've mastered conditional sentences. Let's put that to the test. Let's start with a zero conditional question. What's the correct option for this sentence? If people wear coats, is it A, rains, or B, would rain? Moving on to the first conditional. Fill in the blank. If you pass the exam, is it A, will study, will pass, or B, study, will pass? Now let's tackle the second and third conditional. Complete this sentence. If I travel the world, is it A, were, would travel, or B, was, would have traveled? And finally, for mixed conditionals. If you had told me about the party, I go, is it A, would have gone, or B, would go? Take a moment to think about your answers. Are you confident? Check your answers and see how well you've understood conditional sentences. Well, that was a lot to take in, wasn't it? We've journeyed through the fascinating world of conditional sentences, from the certainty of zero conditionals to the hypothetical scenarios of mixed conditionals. The key is to keep practicing. Try incorporating these structures in your daily conversations. Construct sentences with different outcomes. Challenge yourself with the mixed conditionals. The more you use them, the more familiar they become. Remember, practice makes perfect. Keep using conditional sentences in your daily conversations and soon they'll become second nature to you.